just when you think the news of Tommy Tallarico being ousted as CEO was not enough, the fact that he's going back to Video Games Live, first date's April 2nd. You can check the Video Game Live's website in Tacoma. He's done cosplaying as CEO. Ian would say his vision board is not becoming a reality at this point.
Nope.
In the midst of all that, we had a fourth crowdfunding campaign. The fourth crowdfunding campaign went live on Monday, the 7th. Start Engine. It went live. Ian, there's a lot to unpack with this. They're asking for $5 million from investors. We are a day into this. They're at 25 investors and 32,000 from Poor Souls, which we'll get into. And this campaign is obviously ridiculous to have a fourth crowdfunding campaign while you also have pre-orders and you have people that give you $100. But
nothing says I should have confidence in this company like a fourth funding campaign
after changing CEOs officially. Like all within 24 they changed CEOs, but the discovery all within 24 hours. This happened. There's a ridiculous but better family-friendly trailer. They hired a bunch of family actors and actresses in the fall.
This is probably the response to the call for actors in the summer.
There's no more cell phones being used. There's no more stock photos with Photoshop stock photos being used. So that's an improvement. It's a slick looking thing. But then you actually read the campaign and you go back to square one about why this system and the leadership behind it is so lost and out of touch with the modern gaming culture and sensibilities along the way. Recycle points, more than 3 billion casual video game players. Yes, it's larger than the movie and music industry combined. Yes, because smartphones are extremely cheap. Even in like non-first world nations, you can get a cheap smartphone at this point.
Yes.
Anyone can get a smartphone. And the games mostly are free. Those are your 3 billion people. They're playing free games. They're not spending $10, $20 each on games. They are playing free games. They talk about the hardcore gamers thing. There's only 227 million, 3.1 billion players. They mean smartphone users, basically. That's what they mean. Half the world has smartphones. Then they talk about how video games are expensive and complicated. They're isolating. That's also in. Did you see the trailer? I don't think we have to watch the trailer because it's all doom and gloom. It shows someone.
I did. I watched.
It shows someone in a dark room.
Yeah, in a dark room. Yeah, it's absolute mid-2000s bullshit scare tactics.
Yes, the whole thing's a scare tactic here. There's violence in video games and could be predators out there trying to get you. And that's true to an extent. It is. I'm not saying it's not, but if that is the entire structure of your pitch to investors, you're not off on a good foot, especially when a video game console is sold by its games. Again, there is a ridiculous graphic here, Ian. Complicated versus simple. Our pal Eric Retail Archaeology tweeted about this. On the left side, you have retro gaming consoles like the NES, Genesis, the Advantage joystick, Xbox, the original Xbox, Nintendo 64, PlayStation. That's on the left side. That's denoted as complicated. On the right, simple. The Intellivision Amico is simple. A console that you need the internet to get up and running. A console that the controllers are super overly complicated and over engineered. The fact that, as we've seen from demos and events, it takes minutes to get started in some of these games to get your proper loadout of your whatever, your fucking fish or your tank. There's three different control schemes. That is simple. Are you kidding me? Even for a pitch, that is insane. A cartridge-based system, you hit the power button in, you press start, you start playing. That's it. You're trying to tell me the N64 is complicated or the Sega Genesis? The only thing complicated about the NES is sometimes you can't get the cartridges working because you have to blow in the pins. I mean, but in theory, it's not complicated. That's a joke. There's the dark side, talking about gun violence, physical violence, right there. A unified video game entertainment platform that all family members can enjoy. Note, the Amico console is in pre-production and not available yet on the general market. Well, there you go.
So something that I'd like to bring up about this this fundraising campaign is that even if it succeeds in its most wildest way,
If it hits the 5 million,
it hits the 5 million. And this is fine print stuff that everyone should be reading. There is no guarantee that it's going to be enough to save the company. If you start reading this, what is this? This offering memo form? Is this an SEC document?
It's an Edgar Form C. Yeah, it's something you have to give to the SEC before you do these investment offerings.
They have to be honest on these. If they're not honest on these,
it's fraudulent, and they can face civil and or criminal charges potentially.
So they talk a little bit about what they can raise. The minimum here is 10K. That's the minimum they could take from it, and the maximum is 5 million.
Do you remember what it says if they raise only the minimum?
I'm about to read that.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about right here.
Okay.
The minimum amount for the Start Engine CE offering is 10K. Limiting, the important part. If no other sources of capital are raised, and if only the minimum is raised, 10K. So let's just say no money is raised, because that's basically what we
Hell, I'll say 200,000 even.
Yeah. They would the offering, the company would only have operating cash for 1 to 2 months. Elsewhere in here, they talk about the importance of these funds, not being the funds themselves, but also the acquisition of these funds would also let them perhaps take out a loan in another area, acquire funds from someone else. So if you raise your maximum funding goal, the maximum funding amount for Start Engine CF is 5 million. With the maximum raised through Start Engine, it is expected that the company would raise an additional 5 million. So for a total of 10.
Okay.
Of which 1.6 million has already been raised. In this case, the funds raised would fund the company for approximately 7 to 9 months.
So they would need the 5 million here to keep them afloat for the next months, to raise 5 million more to keep them afloat until closer towards the end of the year.
They are chasing money recklessly. And they're telling you right here that even with that money, they don't know that they've got anything here. 7 to 9 months is not long. They have no income coming in from anywhere else right now. There's no launch. They have not sold anything.
I encourage you all to go and click on See More. You click on a few things, you can find this. It has their balance sheet of how much assets they have, money, how much debt they have.
Here's a quick rundown. 16 million is what they said they raised. They currently say they have 500K on hand, and they are 7 million in debt.
Yes, long-term liabilities, which is debt, 7.2 million, right there.
Yeah,
that's not good.
No,
that's not good, Ian.
I was looking over this last night, man.
There's also, if you go on the Reddit, there's someone that did like the too long didn't read version of it. I'll bring that up to help us as well.
Oh, yeah,
for the larger points. Here's what it comes down to. They have squandered money not putting out a product the last now year and a half, to the point of paying all these salaries. And we'll get into salaries, that's on here too. And also having to pay back interest on loans taken out, that they've been sort of chugging along, burning through money, because this is obviously pre-revenue, and the only revenue that can possibly have come in was the physical products, but that was a drop in the bucket from what we know they probably sold. It wasn't a lot of money that they got.
It was like nothing.
And whatever, I guess, the Evercade license for the re-release cards was, that's all the Intellivision money they can be making. They're not making on t-shirts on their sites or sweatshirts. We know that. So the fact that they blew their original launch date in fall of 2020 compounded the issues. We knew it was never going to launch in 2020. We know this.
Yeah.
We knew that when they took pre-orders now in earlier 2020, they did not have a console ready to go. It was all smoke and mirrors at that point. Hell, we're still waiting for something to officially be produced. So it compounded it, because they still needed the capital to get the people, get the firmware engineers, get their firmware devs, get money for more games. Because all the money, remember, most of these games is money paid up front to a lot of these devs, which is in this as well, the money given to these software folks. And so not coming out with the product compounds your issues, obviously. It puts you further into debt, further liability.
You got to keep the lights on, but you're not selling anything.
Yes. But Ian, we need money to pay our employees and also to pay the board of directors who loan the company money, not invested, loans, as you see in this filing. How do you do that? Well, Ian, we need another round of crowdfunding.
That's right.
We need to go on Fig. Now we need to go on Republic the next year, which happened about a year ago. Wait a minute, a year later, now we need to go on. I'm skipping Fundable.
We're skipping Fundable, which there was like nothing came out of Fundable.
We don't know what Fundable did because it's behind the curtain. Now we got to do Fundable. And what was that? Sometime in 2021. Now we have to do Start Engine. They're jumping from platform to platform, searching for this capital to keep their company afloat.
It looks so bad. I beg I want this to get around, because at this point I feel like with a fourth crowdfunding campaign, one that states that even if their maximum is reached, things look a little dicey. To me at this point, there's no moral gray area left at all. This is purely predatory.
Yeah.
This is not going to succeed.
Oh no, we're way past the point of the console being successful.
This is never going to be a success. This is, are we going to see anything before it folds?
Are we going to see a product launch at all? Like I'm like wavering back and forth. Is that, do they want to get? By the way, there's one of the many things Tommy lied about, having a huge angel investor backing this. There's no big investor. This is all loans on this. It looks like, for the most part.
How far back does this go?
This filing?
Yeah.
The filing, I think, it's the entire history of the company.
I'm just wondering when he incorporated.
The incorporation was in 2018 after he bought it. Like, that's when the new company started. Okay. The timeline is like around the summer of 2018. He buys out Intellivision Entertainment, new LLC. He announces the new console to come out in 2 years later, that fall at PRG 2018. And then all these loans start happening about a year later.
What I see the angel investor thing being is he talked to someone, because we've been following Tommy for ever. It's like I know the guy. He talked to someone. They're like, yeah, Tommy, that sounds interesting. We'll talk later. And he said, I have an angel investor.
Well, he might have. What this all points to, if you get into this filing, is that the board of directors started loaning Intellivision money late 2019.
Right.
A year in. Not before that. From what it sounded like happened before that, and from my sources, there was potentially some big, either venture capitalists or some money involved. They pulled out.
That's what I heard. It happened in June 2019.
They pulled out after showing it in the hotel room, which turned out, it sounds like an orange pie in a fucking shell that they showed to influencers and potential investors at E3 2019. They weren't on the floor. They had a private little suite or whatever. They showed it off. I think the investor or investors got cold feet and like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And they pulled out. At that point, it was panic mode. Because remember, up to that point, you didn't need to put it in pre-order money before you can play it. Remember that.
Right.
This wasn't going to be Kickstarter.
No, that's when you started to see, that's really when you started to see, you started to see the funding campaigns, but that's when you stopped seeing any progress on pretty much every game. Sure. That was the last time we saw anything on, say, Cloudy Mountain or Night Trap. And that's when you started Night Stalker. And that's when you started seeing the clamoring for money and the excuses.
Yes. And then we got attacked more and more that fall, early 2020 as well. It kind of like lines up with the desperation of the company. Mm-hmm. Things start to come into play. But there's a lot of information on here. There's claims on here that they'll launch within 6 months. This is Gate Ruse posted a too long didn't read on one of the Intellivision _Amico Reddit here about here. Confirms all games will be NFTs. We don't know how.
We still don't know.
Only 15 games at launch, including the 6 pack-ins, which is interesting because when you deep dive more into that, it clearly states that 14 of the games were funded by that Bavarian tax grant German money. This console would not, again, exist or have an ecosystem without German taxpayers.
Oh, yeah, there'd be zero. There'd be nothing to show.
Hans set up a European LLC Intellivision, separate than Intellivision Entertainment, just for the intent of getting that cash to get those games made, to have some games for the console.
Yep.
That's clear as day. We're talking the stuff like the Cornhole and the Astro Smash and the fucking Pong games we've seen and the pool game.
Pong wasn't.
Pong wasn't?
Pong was choice provisions. We've been over this.
The shitty Pong.
Oh, Pong. I'm sorry, not Breakout. Yeah.
The shitty Pong,
yeah.
Ian.
Yeah.
Skiing. I said Astro Smash. Most of the pack-ins. Shark. Those would not exist if it wasn't for Germany. It's all laid out in this document. This is not fibbing. This is all in the document here.
Let's talk a little bit about...
we'll talk about salaries.
Yeah, we can talk about salaries, loans. We can talk. I also want to talk about that. They state that 33% of this $5 million would be used for the...
I'll get the quote.
The back end.
I'll get the exact quote. 32%? Was it 33?
I thought it was 33, but maybe you're right, 32. So let Pat get the exact quote. But basically, if you need 33% of $5 million, you have not started on that back end. And
well, they claim that system firmware and gaming console operating system is 95% complete. That's their
firmware
claim.
and operating system is not the back end.
That's what they claim.
It's not the internet. It's not the web store.
Intellivision has not offered any NFTs as of today. Infrastructure has been put in place to offer in the future digital games tied to an NFT for the purpose of maintaining digital ownership rights. There it is. Doesn't exist right now, but that's when they say every game's going to be an NFT. That's what it is right there.
I think we're getting closer to, if this thing gets shipped, it's going to be games on a system sent out. I think we're getting closer and closer to this being a plug and play. How are they going to look at that and be like, we're really going to make this network just to ship everything out and have this fold in a year?
If they raise their target's really 10 million. Remember, Ian said they need 5 million to get to the place to get 5 million.
They need 5 million to look like they're real enough to get 5 million from someone else.
To get closer. This is how they're going to use it. Whatever. The platform star engine gets their cut, like 3.5% from that. Okay. The research and the dev, whatever. Okay. Here's from the 5 million. Okay. 18% for marketing, 32% research and development. This is great. Continued technology investment will be required in back-end cloud systems, as well as further optimization of the firmware and gaming operating system. Game development is a separate category. They need, what's Pat math, 30% of 5 million. They need $1.7 million, Ian.
For something that's 95% done, they say.
For their back-end servers and cloud system. And their firmware of their console still. Are you fucking kidding me? And this was supposed to come out October 2020. This is insane. And people are calling us liars. This is where I get, when people are like, oh, well, why do you guys get so worked up? We've been right about
because they've been
all of this.
And
calling us liars when we were right about all of this.
Literally everything.
I mean, I'll give you credit if we were wrong about something. I will say it. I will say it.
We guys got the price wrong in the first time you talked about it.
Yeah, we got the price wrong because now it's going to be over $300. It's over $200, $300. Now it's $250 to $350.
I can't believe we're... God, that didn't even really sink in for me. That like they're already talking about another price upgrade, and like the main thing that Tommy got so angry with us for initially was misquoting the price.
We gave the price the benefit of the doubt. It's more than what we erroneously said, or I erroneously said originally. 16% for game development, 6.5% post-launch. New games are expected to launch every 2 weeks. Now it's every 2 weeks there.
Instead of every week.
So that's a big thing. They need a third of the money. They need $1.7 million for firmware and the cloud and the back end. That's nuts. Their auditor has a going concern with substantial doubts they will succeed as a business and will be unable to continue beyond this year without additional financing. This is a great one right here. Remember ARC? ARC was going to be the manufacturing partner.
They have 1.5 million tied up in a dispute with ARC.
1.35 million with ARC. They have a contract dispute. What it looks like, if you look into the balance sheets, it sounds like they hired ARC to do the manufacturing. ARC then probably went out and got the components and spent money. And then Intellivision reneged on the deal and said, no, we don't want to work with you guys anymore. And ARC's like, fuck you. we're keeping the 1.35 million because we bought the parts.
Yeah, or set up the lines was what I had read, was that they had pretty much set up the lines and were ready for manufacturing. Basically, yeah, and whether it's parts or just the loss of the ability to do something else, they took a hit.
I think if you look into it, they list 1.35 as part of their assets.
Okay.
So like if that means that, well, we got these parts laid out with someone that we blew 1.35 million in dispute, but we can take ownership of it. This is why you need a real CEO running a company. So this stuff doesn't happen.
Right.
They just blew almost $1.5 million right there. Not of their own money, which we'll get into, by the way. We'll get into how that's all structured. This person says Tommy lied when he said there was tens of millions of dollars from outside investors. There's none. There's not tens of millions of dollars.
No one ever at any point was like, this looks great. Tommy really fucking blew himself on message boards all over about how many private people with big money wanted to be part of this.
While Tommy is the largest shareholder, he does not own a majority.
He owns
28.8%. Board kicks your ass off. If you're not a single majority, or over 50.1%, board can kick your ass off. They should have done it 2 years ago. Let's see what else.
I feel like that's what it came down to. They were like, look, we can kick you off the board, or you can do what we're going to say. Sure.
They have prepaid some components, and the board will offer a line of credit and hoping to get some lines of credit for manufacturing contracts currently being negotiated. They're trying to raise $10 million for venture capital firms. Guessing this is what the Delaware was about. So they restructured the LLC to be focused out of Delaware. We didn't really talk about that. It happened in the past month as well.
Yeah.
And from what I was reading, obviously there's less taxes on the company incorporated in Delaware. It's also more legal protections in Delaware.
Yes.
That's how Delaware makes a lot of their state money, is being a safe haven for LLCs. That's what they do. That's like the big industry in Delaware is that, basically. Yeah, there's more. They have only 5,400 pre-orders. So that's $540,000 deferred revenue of $100 per pre-order.
That's less. I thought they would be rounding up when they said 6,000, but that's not even rounding. That's rounding way up. You should be rounding down.
So we were yelled at and said that this had more interest than Tommy on Twitter said. Wow, we have over 10,000 pre-orders. This is more than the Atari VCS. This is less than the Atari VCS.
He also stated at one point that there was far more interest in the Amico than the Playdate.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Well, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Because we know the Play has done tens of thousands. We don't know the exact number, but we looked at my order number and it was in the 20,000s.
Yep.
So we know that. 5,400 pre-orders. I'm guessing that they had around 600 people say, I want my money back. That is probably going to kick up. Wasn't the whatever the 13,000 number, 5,400. That's a legal document. 5,400. Okay. So you ask yourselves, okay, Pat, how did they get to this point? How has this company stayed afloat, wasting all this money and being now a year and a half behind in a console that's still not finished?
Before you talk about that, you should talk about, you didn't mention any of the CEO salaries.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we need to get into loans, but if we're not done talking about wasted money.
All right.
We're not done talking about wasted money.
Tommy was paid $96,000 last year. He basically paid himself and Nick Richards, the CFO, $96,000. And before you say, hey, Pat, they should get paid, a lot of startups, the people running them, it's their blood, sweat, and tears. They don't pay themselves anything. Right. They realize this is a sacrifice to get the product out, and you're taking money from the company to help the company get to where it's supposed to get to actually earn profit by doing that. But they have other, and plus, someone like Nick, I think they were renting out his fucking warehouse or whatever.
Right.
At one
so
point.
He's making money on that too.
So making money. So the point is this: when you see this, these people that are in on this, the board, especially the CEO, CFO, they have almost no financial risk because they're paying themselves, and it turns out they did not invest in the company. They loaned Intellivision Entertainment, loaned them the money with interest, with bearing interest. And a lot of those loans have been paid back. That's what's so interesting about this structure. They don't have some giant investors helping them out, hoping to get a return. They are all structured, it looks like, for the most part, as loans with interest.
Yep.
So the board of directors, they're putting in money, but they're at a minimal risk. They're going to get their money back with interest. You know why? Because of crowdfunding can help them do that.
Yes, that's how they get the money back. They're getting their loans paid back through the money that you're giving. The money you're putting into this is not anyone who still thinks that a successful, fruitful console launch is still coming out of this is absolutely insane. What you're paying is so that you're paying money so Tommy doesn't get in trouble with the people he has loans out on.
They went from saying you will never have to pay or pre-order the console before you can play it to late 2019. If you look at it, these loans start coming in. Then what happens a few months later, Ian? Oh, we got the Founders Edition, early 2020. We got the Founders Edition. We need your money for that. Get your $300 to us. You know, put it in. You want to get the Founders. Then what happened right after that, Ian? First crowdfunding started.
Yep.
The first Fig crowdfunding started right after that. Right after that. These loans started to get paid back pretty fucking early with minimal risk to that. I can't even call it an investment because they're not investments.
Nope.
It looks like they're straight up loans.
Let's take a look at some of them. Oh, first, John Alvarado. How much is John Alvarado making for not shipping a system?
He was paid, what was it, like $186,000 or something like that?
That's right.
Last year.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not saying John shouldn't be paid. I
think we need to stop defending these people.
But you're getting paid on the back of all these poor revenue investors that aren't going to see a fucking dime.
Well, yeah,
your money's not at risk. Your money's not at risk. These people that watch Neil Patel's sleazy backroom video or subscribe to the overpriced Tikatoir newsletter in Florida, those are the people funding your salaries and getting the loan money to pay you back. A company can't pay back loans, Ian, if there's no fucking revenue coming in.
Right. So crowdfunding is it's fucking scammy. It's so gross. Let's look at some of these.
It was 174,000 in 2020 to John. He took a slight pay cut, Ian, last year. Only 156,000 last year.
How magnanimous of him.
You want to talk about the loans?
Yeah, loans.
I love the loans, Ian.
So various board members. Loan program 1. There's 2 loan programs.
What page is that, Ian? I'm going to put that up.
It is 40 of 76.
40. Okay.
1,914,669, almost a $2 million loan with a 10% interest rate.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. Done by the Board Loan Program 1 between November 2019 and August 2021. So this is the first big, hey, we need a cash injection.
But it was still going along the way.
Right. 5 board members loaned the company an aggregate of $1,217,000. No maturity date for the loan. At the option of the lender and until December 31st, 2023, each dollar outstanding under the loan is convertible into warrant to purchase 2 shares of common stock, having an exercise price of 28 cents per share.
10% interest rate on a $2 million loan. Holy shit. Yeah, you're not investing at that point. That's a huge fucking loan. 10%. Then you get to the individual board members that are loaning things. And Tommy loaned money at interest. So it's interesting when you can loan
your own company.
You loan your own company money. You take a salary as well, and you're getting interest on your loan.
Yep.
But you have no revenue. But the money's got to come somewhere, Ian. Where does that money come from?
Crowdfunding.
It comes from, I'll tell you who it comes from.
Well, it can also
I'll tell you specifically one of the people it comes from. On Republic, the top comment. By the way, Phil, new CEO, no official press release I saw about the change of the guard. Nothing to the Republic investors.
You unprofessional fucking sludge.
So I feel bad. I actually feel bad for these investors. Good old Holly here invested $1,000, Ian. The top comment after the January 10th update. Holly with a little profile pic of her 2 cute little white little poodle-looking dogs. Seems that this has been taking too long. Something more than supply chain issues. I'm losing faith. I do feel bad for these people. And you say, well, they should know the risk. These are people that are older. These are people that are, looking at sleazy investment videos that have lies in them, like people like Jay Allard are still with the company when they're not.
I've seen enough forensic files and shows like that of old people who get ripped off. I realize that there are definitely people in here that I feel something for.
So Holly is the one, and people like Holly are paying these salaries. They're paying for like the fucking Intellivision Running Man fucking little statue that they got made that they're putting in their office, and is paying the interest on loans to the board members.
Your gross egotistical bullshit. Yeah, these people aren't. You're not helping launch a console. You're paying back people's loans before this goes fucking tits up.
Yeah, that's what's happened here. I mean, you look.
That's
it's all
the important thing. That's what you're doing. You are paying back loaned money that Tommy can't repay.
And owed interest. This is interest that is owed by the company.
Yes.
If something happens, they are still legally own this money, these board members and officers. Because they're loans, they're not investments. They're cash loans to the CFO, Nick Richards, to the CEO or former CEO Tommy, to David Perry, who's on the board. He put in cash. Again, this all started happening late 2019, it looks like, a lot of it.
I want to point out some of these terms, too.
Oh, go for it.
Before we get too far. I'm not going to mention this person's name.
Well, if they're on the document, I'll mention
okay,
them.
sure.
I mean, it's public.
This is a big one. Sudesh
Agarwal?
Manufacturing loan. $810,000 loaned. 0.8 of a million. This one is particularly insane. Like, please listen to what I'm saying here. In August 2021, Sudesh loaned the company $675,000 in exchange for the company's agreement to repay the principal amount plus $202,500 in loan fees and costs. No interest. That's been paid. No interest is accruing on the loan. The company agreed to pay the fees
and
or the costs on or before December 31st.
So they paid the 202.
2021, which they did. Get ready for this, though. Get ready for this shit.
Strap in.
And to pay $100 for each Intellivision Amico sold by the company until the balance of $675,000 is paid in full. As of December 31st, 2021, there is still $675,000 outstanding under the loan. That
the $202,000 in the fees. Of the fees. So they paid $140,000 of the fees, and the outstanding balance of the loan was $675,000.
Right.
Because they haven't sold any Amicos yet. So they've paid some of the fees, but they still have the outstanding loan balance of $675,000. This is the point here, though.
How many systems is that at $100?
6,750 consoles they need to sell in order to pay back.
That's more than what they have pre-ordered.
That's the 1,300 more than the pre-order.
They completely destroyed their profits on their first run of systems. Destroyed.
Sudesh,
100 right off the top.
I want to know what happened in August 2021 that was so desperate that they would sell basically any chance of success of getting a profit from the consoles.
If there's one thing to point at here, this is Tommy selling his soul for this company, and it's not going to work.
The company's done as of this loan. It's fucking done. Because if you can't start building real revenue from actually selling your product, you don't have anything. You don't have a company anymore. So Sudesh probably read the writing on the wall and is like, okay.
This is very specific to me. $100.
Yes.
What was the pre-order amount?
$100 deposit.
And what do they have pre-orders for? About 5,400 systems. And they don't want you to cancel their pre-order. Why? Because this guy needs his fucking money.
$100.
$100 from every Amico sale.
I tell you what, Sudesh, I applaud you because that's a Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank would be blushing at this loan. That's insane. That's insane. No wonder Phil Adam was saying we're not making money on these because of this.
Yeah, you're absolutely not
losing.
I mean, that's why you've got to raise the money. You're absolutely not going to make any money. $150 is probably what it's going to cost you at this point.
How was this loan agreed to?
It was probably Tommy needed the money or they were fucked that minute.
Did Tommy sign off that? Not the board?
I don't know.
Was this the impetus for getting rid of Tommy on the board? That's insane. How could you?
Well, that was 2021. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, that was 2021.
Yeah. I mean, that
was 8 months ago.
That's such an insane deal.
That was about 7 months ago, roughly.
If there's one thing that people talk about from this, I really want people to talk about this. Get this in front of the investors. Look at how little of a chance this has of generating any profit. This entire thing is them trying to save their business, and it doesn't read like anything is going to work. This whole document is incredibly negative. They're telling you in this document that $10 million probably is only going to keep the company shambling along for another 7 to 9 months.
Yeah.
They have enough money to operate 1 or 2 months if they don't make anything.
Yes.
They have 500 cash on hand. They have 7 million in debt.
500,000.
500,000. Yeah. I just come at me. Spin this. Tell me how this is. Tell me how everything was always fine in La La Land.
Hey, Pat Ian, fuck you. Oh!
By the way, they value the company because they're insane at $30 million for a pre-revenue company. Because I guess they figure let's say 15 times. Usually on a startup, from what I know, a startup is like 7 to 9 or something for a pre-revenue company. I've never heard of 15 times. Like that's insane. It talks about what the assets they own. They own that there are 120 games in the library. They own the trademarks, secured game and intellectual property license. This is how they're trying to say their company's worth $30 million because they have a fucking deal with Earthworm Jim and Sesame Street. Which, by the way, in those games show up again. Night Stalker shows up. The Sesame Street Flash
Breakout
games,
shows up.
Care Bear Carts, the free mobile game. All these games showed up that we have never seen most of these working on in Amico. We know they're not being worked on. It's smoke and mirrors. Oh, they talk about their Karma Gaming engine and that could be proprietary. It's not. Tommy said it's bullshit in a fucking live stream.
He even said it was bullshit in a live stream. I wish people would
I mean,
with all these people who keep finding out about like the Amico stuff and doing these like videos,
they got a lot to catch up on.
That there's other stuff out there. Like these are things that need to be brought to people's attention. Like Tommy flat out saying that karma's bullshit.
The board member taking out that loan to me says this. It says that at the very best, they're going to get out. They'll make about 6,000 or so. They'll get that money out. I mean, that'll get done. We're going to shit out 6,000 of these, and I'm going to get my $100 for each to get my money as well as the interest back. That's owed. That's owed him.
Yeah.
The 202,000 is owed to him, no matter what. The company tries to declare bankruptcy. They're indebted to Sudesh there. Besides that, but he sees the writing on the wall. Sudesh.
Yep.
If a board director wants that predatory loan to kneecap the fucking business before it can get off and running, that's all you need to know. You are kneecapping the business.
Yep.
By strangling all the money from it. When the documentary is made about this, I want to know how the fuck that loan went down and how that was agreed to.
Yeah.
I would love. Did Tommy not know he was signing that loan? Or Nick Richards, the CFO, is responsible? What happened with that loan?
I have never seen anything like that.
This is insane. So I'm going to finish.
If anyone wants to know, the PPP has not been forgiven.
The PPP loan of about $200,000 has not been forgiven yet either. So the government's PPP loan they have to look at, make sure it's all above the board and do that. I'm not saying it won't be. That's still there as well. This is where I'm going to end up at right now. I'm 50-50. I'm actually seeing that awful loan makes me think that they're going to try to push this out just to appease him, or he's going to push for it, Sudesh. You're going to get Ian, as you said. We're going to flash 6 games, maybe just 5. Flash them to the console. No back end, no leaderboards, barely functioning controllers. Who the fuck cares if this console lasts 3 months before it crumbles in your hands? And ship it out to the people, and that's it.
That's another thing, and I'm not going to say I'd bet money on it, but I think at this point the likelihood of seeing a backend, a cloud-based backend, not going to happen, because everyone who's sitting there, you read this, you know that this company has no future. This company has 0 future. They're not going to spend all that money on building that backend just to have to shut it down.
Yes.
They're going to use that 32% or whatever. That's going to go towards these loans. It's going to go towards loans. It's going to go towards getting 6-7 games finished and thrown on a console. And you are going to have an Amico plug and play.
That'll be a paperweight because you're going to be sick of it. And no customer support if something happens with your console or if the controllers go bad.
Oh, there's not going to be extra controllers just floating around.
Oh, no. They'll get just as many probably produced that they need to ship, and maybe, obviously some extra consoles, but like whatever the run is, that's what's going to happen. So that's a lot of Intellivision, but as I'll get it right this time, as we said, E3 was the end of the beginning. This is the true beginning of the end.
I said yesterday online that this stuff doesn't excite me anymore. But as I read some of this, I get some of that excitement back to cover this topic.
Yeah, the Sudesh loan, gotcha.
I'm interested. I'm interested in where this goes in the next 2 months. I don't have the fucking time for more than 2 more months of this. I hope this is wrapped up in 2 months.
I'll finish on the Start Engine investors seem, unfortunately, probably a little more knowledgeable than poor Holly and her cute little poodles that lost $1,000 that could have went to her grandchildren or nieces and nephews.
What are they at right now? Probably 35,000,
something like that.
This is also the way the Start Engine does it. You get like bonus shares if you get in right away. So this is like the time where people should be
running to do it. They're at 32,000 remote recordings. The comments, though, they're a little bit more savvy because unlike the people in Republic, they're reading the filings. In this event, Amico is not sustainable. Bankrupt by Q4 2022, as stated above, with this round of investor shares transfers shares to Figs. So they're basically asking, like, we know this is going to be not sustainable. We're going to get shares.
Will this be transferable to whoever buys you out,
or to shares in Fig themselves? Because Fig can, when you invest in Fig Republic, you're investing technically that, not the actual investment. I thought this was a great concept. This comes from Peter, and I invested in the revenue shares on Republic and pre-ordered the Amico wood grain, but now I have an unopened 8-pack of games. You don't have games, Peter. They are physical products.
That's
legally
right.
That I cannot play yet because I did not get a console yet, which is entirely backwards, even with the supply chain fiasco considered.
I do have to say this. Hey, dude, you fucking ordered those games.
Yeah. Why should I? Oh, this is smart. Peter's learning. Why should I invest again when I am not yet getting a return on my revenue share? Have the games, but cannot yet get a console to play them on. You don't have games, Peter. And I see people posting below and above that the directors of the company are paying themselves back for a bankrupt company. They're from their shareholder loans.
Yeah.
I really wanted to believe in the potential of this company, but it's not looking good so far. Peter's coming around, but he's out of his money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the first comment was, "Can't wait to play Toe Jam and Earl on this," which is hysterical.
That is funny.
That's a troll. But it sounds like the Start Engine is a little bit savvier investors from the comments I see so far.
I think just the fucking word's getting out finally.
Yeah, the word's getting out.
The thing is they would have had to have planned for this crowdfunding campaign. This didn't launch yesterday in response to the CEO news. The CEO changing news just hit at a really bad time for them. Everyone, it's news like that comes out, everyone quickly becomes aware of them again, and it gets this.
Come on, Ian. I hope my tweet caused it a little bit. Because otherwise, this might have flown under the radar. The CEO stuff might have flown under the radar to people.
Perhaps.
You have savvy eyes out there looking. I didn't look at LinkedIn at first. It was pointed out to me. And I was like, okay, that's something. That's something, Ian. So, all right. Beginning of the end. I don't know if this is going to come out to the backers. I will say this. Sorry. Get your money back now, pre-order people. Get your $100 back now because there's no guarantee. And this company, in a few months, ain't going to have money to give you back anything. If you want your pre-order money back in 3 months, you may not. There'd be no capital left to do it. That's not a scare tactic. That's the reality based upon the filing. They're out of money. Get your $100 back now if you want it back.
Get it back.
Your money was used to keep this company afloat and for marketing materials for the next round. Oh, we got these pre-orders. Now we can 2,600. Now we can do Fig. We got some more there. Now we can do Republic. That's how this has been daisy chained along. And it all happened with the Founders Edition 2 years ago. That's where this madness really started with it.